Have you ever wondered if the way we are raising kids today is actually making their lives harder? What if some of the biggest parenting struggles we face, anxiety, disconnection, burnout, aren't because we are failing, but because we are trying to do something humans were never meant to do alone? In today's episode of Single Parent Success Stories, family therapist Angela Caldwell shares why single parents need a village, why social media may be harming our children more than helping them, and the simple shifts that can dramatically improve your child's emotional health. If you ever felt overwhelmed, judged, or like you're doing parenting alone, stay with us, because this conversation might completely change the way you think about raising kids. Welcome to Single Parent Success Stories, a podcast designed to inspire single parents. Here you'll find resources from self-care to finances to parenting and everything in between. Discover what it takes to thrive. Let the stories inspire you to what is possible. Give the woman in your life something that truly matters, or better yet, give it to yourself. The gift inside is for every woman who spent decades being everything to everyone else. It's time to remember who you are and rediscover your happiness. This isn't just a book, it's a permission to put yourself first again. Available now, because the best gift you can give is helping someone find themselves. Hello and welcome to Single Parent Success Stories. Today we have a special guest, Angela Caldwell, joining us from California. She is a founder of Caldwell Family Institute, a family therapist who believes every parent should have the support of a village, that finding shared values and goals can help heal a family, and that parents really need to manage their kids' social media time. And she's also a mom of two. Welcome, Angela. Pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Irina. I'm looking forward to our talk.
Yes. So how did you kind of started your journey? Why don't you share a little bit about that?
Yes, I did not plan to be a family therapist. This was not the idea. I was going to Hollywood and I was going to make movies. That was the original plan. So I grew up in a border town, El Paso, Texas. My family is still there. So most of my family is still there. I decided that I wanted to move to Los Angeles, California, and I wanted to be in the movie business. So I went to film school out here, started working in the film industry after I graduated, and discovered very quickly that I have no talent for this whatsoever. I do not have the creative eye. My colleagues on set, they were all able to have conversations that I couldn't really participate in. I didn't always know what they were talking about. I also noticed that at this time, I was much better on set at people. I was much better at interpersonal dynamics. So I was learning about myself that I had gone the wrong way. And so I was working on sets and, I couldn't really compose a shot. I couldn't really direct actors to get the right emotion out that I was looking for. I wasn't good at that. But what I was good at was mediating conflict between the actress and the director. Or I was really good at getting everybody to collaborate and making sure everybody's ideas were heard. And so I thought, business. And so I went to psych school. I became a therapist, and then I started working primarily as a family therapist. So not so much with I do some individual one-on-one work, but mostly my work is with families in conflict. I have a joke about that. What family is not in conflict? So that would be all families. And that's my passion. That's what I love to do. I get to work with all different kinds of family constellations. So your podcast is for single parents, and I have quite a few families that are different kinds of single parents. I have families where the other parent is deceased. I have a lot of families where the parents have divorced. And so they, each household is trying to work out how to parent on their own. I have other families that tragically their ex has completely abandoned them. And so they've been sort of left with the children all by themselves, kind of suddenly, and trying to cobble together some kind of life for themselves and their children. So I am not a single parent, and I have clients, like I said, that are single parents. I have friends that are single parents, and I am in awe for how you guys do it. I don't know what I would do without my help around the house.
Yes. Thank you so much. You often say that every parent deserves a village. For single parents who feel like they're doing it all alone, what does building a village really look like in today's world?
This is my favorite question. So of all of the parents in the world. The ones that need the village the most are the single parents. Say this thing often where I insist that raising children should never be entirely on the shoulders of the parents. That makes no sense to me. I don't know. I mean, you're a parent, I'm a parent. Even the wealthy families I work with that have multiple nannies, the amount of effort and energy and cognitive presence that parenting requires, it's ridiculous in our more traditional American culture that we have this idea that parenting falls on the shoulders of either one or two people. That's impossible. Even nannies, even babysitters, they can only handle it for a few hours at a time, right? And so I have this thing that I say that we must have a village, and that village is constructed, if we're lucky, it's constructed of family members. If we're lucky with friends and neighbors, it's constructed in the community. But the village is critical and crucial in shaping and developing our children. I'm going to get to your question, I promise, in a second. But I want to say this thing about a confusion that I have noticed in my clinical work, the difference between community and holding boundaries. And so this idea, we should have boundaries. Everybody knows that. It's just that not all of us understand what a boundary is and what it means to hold a boundary. And what I'm noticing is that the misunderstanding about boundaries is making people accidentally lock out the village. And so what happens is when people say things like, well, I'm in charge of my children, I'm the one who's going to make decisions about raising them. Well, yes, in a way that's right. But if you're too rigid about holding that boundary and you don't allow other people to help raise your child, then you're going to feel extremely alone. And you're going to say, where is this village? When it could be that you are inadvertently locking out the village. There's two things that have to happen in order to build a village. And one happens inside of your head and one happens with action. Inside of your head, we have to give up this idea that we are the ones who are going to shape our children. We have to start accepting that it's okay if other outside people influence our children, even if they're influencing them in ideas that we don't necessarily agree with, even if they're making decisions about what a child should eat or wear that are not the same decisions that we would make. That has to start being okay. It has to start being okay that there are other people that might influence our children a little bit differently than we are. Now, of course, you hold boundaries around egregious things. You don't want to invite abuse and neglect. And of course, things like that, we lock that stuff out. But if our mother or our neighbor or our friend thinks it's okay to watch a little bit more TV than we would like, or thinks it's okay if they eat lunch at 2 instead of 1, or that's okay, that we need to make that okay. If our friends and neighbors and teachers and family members are teaching our kids how to play a video game that we wouldn't have thought of, or teaching our kids how to reading a story to our kids that we think is maybe not so great for our kids, that has to start being okay. Now, that's the first thing I say that's pretty controversial, because parents don't like that. Parents want to believe that they're in control of what goes inside of our children's minds and bodies. We should be a little bit, but we shouldn't be so rigid about it, because then you're going to start to feel alone. So the first thing that has to happen is in your mind, you have to accept that if you're going to have a village, then what you're doing is you're allowing other adults to influence your children. The second thing that has to happen is, instead of sitting and waiting for your village, instead of wondering where everyone is, you actually have to become other people's village. Now, what that looks like is that you show up to your neighbor's house when they need help. You show up to your sister's house when she needs help. Again, we run into this boundary thing. When I suggest this to my clients, a lot of my clients' sort of knee-jerk response is to say, oh, but I don't want to intrude, or I know that I want to make sure that they have their space. Let me tell you something. We don't want space. We want help. We need help. So if you're thinking of making this chicken casserole that you made for your family before, but you don't know if they like it, and so you don't know if you should make it. Make the chicken casserole. Even if they don't like it, what you're doing is you're showing up and saying, hey, I'm here, neighbor, friend, I'm here. I can see that you need help. Take your sister's kids off her hands for a day if she needs some help. If you hear that your best friend is overwhelmed at work, show up and say, hey, you go work. I'm going to play with your kids while you go get some work done. That's what it means to start building a village, because what happens is you become the instigator of the village. You start a movement in your own little community where your best friend and your sister and your dad and your brother and your neighbor, they start seeing, oh, Irina's doing it, Angela's doing it. This is what we do, I guess. And the more you do it, the more other people will repay not just you, but each other. I mean, in a blink of an eye, you have a village.
Very powerful point. Thank you. Instead of waiting, just start your own. Awesome. Thank you. Many single parents struggle with trust or fear of judgment when reaching out for help. What are some small, safe ways they can start creating connections and support systems around them?
That's a good question. This might be a personal question that I can ask you. Do you experience that? Do you worry about being judged by other people if you ask for help?
I'm usually on the giving end of help, not on the receiving end.
Got it. You're a do it alone kind of girl. I like it.
I would love help.
Yes. I've heard that. I'm thinking of one client in particular right now, and she doesn't want to ask for help. She doesn't like how it looks. She thinks that if she asks people for help, that what she's doing is she is putting her failed marriage on display for everybody to see. I think the first thing I want to tell your listeners is I would like to offer reassurance. I believe that most double parents, can I say, is that a thing? I'm going to say double parents. Most double parents, we are not judging our single parent friends. We are in awe. We are humbled by our single parent friends. All parents have a shared experience of the difficulty of this. All parents, I mean, think about it when you're talking to your friends that don't have kids, and you might be able to talk about a movie or a soccer game or politics or religion, but when it comes to the experience of having kids, they don't get it, right? Our childless friends, until they have children, have no concept of how difficult this is. So the reassurance I would like to often offer your listeners is, as parents, we are all sharing in the difficulty of this. We are, all of us, I think, I believe you and I, we're all humbled when kids start to show up in our house by the energy that is required, the constantness of the demands and the needs. This is incredibly difficult. So those of us that are paired up with a spouse or a partner, when we are encountering someone who does not have a spouse or a partner, we are not judging. We are in shock and awe. We cannot believe that you are doing this by yourself because we can barely hold it together with our partner. So that's the first thing I want to say is don't worry. There is not judgment. It's the opposite of judgment. It is amazement. We are astounded that you can do this by yourself. The other thing is I want your listeners to remember times when they have been asked for help. When someone has come to them, maybe a family member or a friend has asked them for help. What's your instinct? Most of us, if we're good humans, maybe with the exception of serial killers, most of us, when we are asked for help, our instinctive response is, of course, yes. Number one, most people are good. Number two, most people there's a part of our brain, it's called the anterior cingulate, that is programmed to help someone else in need. And number three, we like to feel important. And when you ask us for help, we have an opportunity to feel important. We have an opportunity to feel of value to someone, like, hey, here's something that can make me feel like I matter to someone else. So I would say hold that in mind. The small step, maybe this is another thing that happens inside of your head first. A small step is hold in mind, one, that it's the opposite of judgment. And two, most of us would jump at the chance to help a single parent. Think the hard answer, and maybe your listeners won't love me to say this, but probably there's some truth behind this. That's probably your own projection. You're probably ashamed of whatever happened with you, the circumstance that made you a single parent, and you might be projecting that onto other people. Because you're ashamed of it, you might think that other people are judging it. I got to tell you, we don't have time for that. There's not enough real estate in our brains to judge what happened in your life. And we got kids to feed. I have a piano lesson at 5:30. I've got to get my soccer practice. I can't find the uniform. There's laundry to do. I think the bathing suits are still wet. There's a birthday party I forgot to get the wrapping paper for. I don't have any time or room to judge what the hell is happening in your life or how you got there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very well said. You talk about aligning shared values and goals to help heal families. How can single parents use this approach, especially when co-parenting or rebuilding a family dynamics after separation?
That's a juicy question. Okay. There is something I want to say. So I guess my answer here is going to be directed primarily at divorced parents or separated parents. So two households. I work with a lot of high conflict families. And so that means that in some of these families, and some of your listeners might have this experience, co-parenting is a myth. It's not happening. We are not able to get along with each other. The parenting philosophies in the first place are completely misaligned. This house believes that children should be raised this way, and this house believes that children should be raised this way. In the clinical world, we say that if you can't co-parent, you have to do something called parallel parenting, which is you parent your way, I'll parent my way. Let's hope for the best. I will tell you, as a family therapist, as a licensed clinician, parallel parenting, it doesn't harm the children. The children turn out okay. As a matter of fact, they are exposed to two completely different viewpoints on life. That's good for kids. That's good for their brains. So if the first thing I'll say is, don't worry about the kids. Their mental health, we're good. It's going to be intact. What it means to align your values in these kinds of families, you have to think of it in terms of the household. Now, if you are divorced or separated and you have young kids, so let's talk about maybe like elementary school or younger. When we are talking about aligning values, because they're so young, what you're really talking about is the parent imposing their own values on the kids. So if you are a person who values academic achievement, truth and honesty, and faith, well, then you're going to impose that. We're going to do our homework. We're going to do well on our homework. We're going to study for tests. We're going to go to church on Sunday, and we are going to not lie, and we're going to be honest, right? And those are the values you're going to kind of impose on your children. As they get older, I mean, you're going to get me into developmental psychology, but as they get older in like adolescence, that's when they're supposed to rebel against like, well, why do I have to value academic achievement? I prefer athletic achievement, and you're supposed to, you're kind of butt heads there. But hopefully you've done a good enough job focusing on your own household and talking about, and I encourage parents to use this language, in my house, in this house, right? So that there's a clear distinction between what I value in this house and what you might be doing in another house, in these more hostile environments or uncooperative environments where the other house values something else. The advice I give my parents is to mind your own business. Let that house be doing whatever that house is, and believe in your values and stand by your values and make your house and your household all about your values and impose them on your kids. The biggest mistake that I see is that the parent is too easily drawn into what's going on in the other house. And so they talk to therapists and lawyers and their friends and experts about, what am I going to do about this other parent? And this other parent is toxic, and this other parent is poisonous, and look what this other parent is doing to my child. In those situations, my colleague Joel Andres has this beautiful metaphor. I'm stealing it. I want to give it to your listeners. What's happening in that moment is this kind of like this. It's almost as if a drunk driver hit your child, and your child is bleeding on the street, and you're busy chasing after the driver. So the more you chase after the driver, the less attention you are giving to your hurt child on the street. So that's what's happening in households where the parent is so involved in what's going on in the other house and what the other house is teaching their kid. And the other house is toxic values. The other house is teaching racism and sexism or whatever it is. And okay, that's terrible. That's bad. That's a drunk driver. But what about your house? Then if that's the case, make your house the good house. Make your house the house that values whatever it is, charity, honesty, artistic expression. Make your house the house that you stick to your values. Now, one last note, of course, not all separations or divorces are acrimonious. Some parents are co-parenting nicely, and they don't necessarily have the same set of values, but there's a general agreement on what we do. And those parents, what we recommend is that those parents at least once a month in the beginning, and then maybe a couple times a year once they get into a rhythm, those parents should be having a meeting about their households. This is what we're doing in our house. Does that sound about right in your house? Okay, this is actually a problem in our house. How are you solving it in your house? And those meetings should be regular. The other little tip I'll give is that those meetings, if they are friendly, if they are cooperative, they should happen in front of the kids. When kids can see their two parents co-parenting successfully, those kids do better in mental health surveys. Those kids, even though their family broke, even though their family split apart, when they're able to see that the parents at least agree on their interests and their well-being, they get to walk taller to school that day. They get to feel good about their family kind of at least coming together when it comes to them.
Thank you. Yeah. Sometimes those meetings held like in the corporate world when some issues arise and they talk about some kind of a resolution plan. But in real life, when it comes to families, we often miss that. And I think it's a great point to have those interactions. What would you say to parents who are raising kids alone, who are like the other parent is not actively involved? What advice would you share with those?
Well, again, I'm in shock and awe. I have 2 clients that I'm thinking of that they're called solo parents, right? That they're doing everything on their own. There is no other parent to worry about. In some ways, that is just excruciatingly difficult, and you must build a village. A village is non-negotiable. You have to have a caring community around you made of the teachers or your friends or your neighbors or your family, and you have to kind of get over the shame of asking for help. Everyone is going to recognize that you're doing this alone. It kind of reminds me of like the rowboats. You know, when you see like a bunch of people on a rowboat in those races. I never did this, but you're in New York. You probably see this more than I do. We don't see it so much out here, but it's kind of like if you were watching a race and this rowboat has 10 people in it and this rowboat has 10 people in it and that one has 1. Right? It's kind of there is nobody in that race going like, wow, what a loser. No, everyone in that race is like, oh my God, we have to help him. He's all by himself, right? So first of all, get over it. Ask for help. The village is crucial. And then, there's an upside to solo parenting. The upside is you're the only one. Like, talk about power and influence over your kids' minds. You don't have to worry about a toxic ex or somebody else feeding bad information to your kids. You get to be the one to shape their morals and values. And that is maybe the hidden blessing in being a solo parent. I say take charge. Choose your top 5 values and start instilling them. By the way, when we say instill values, that word is bothersome because I don't think we all know what we mean by that. Like instill, what does that even mean? Okay, so in my house, what it means is talking about that's the dinner table. So at the dinner table, we have a game that we play around the dinner table. It's called high-low. And all the members around our family, everyone has to say the high of their day and the low of their day. And what my husband and I are looking for are opportunities to have a values talk, right? So something that we value deeply is this word community. And so maybe one of my daughters will tell a story about something that happened to another kid in her class, and we'll say, oh, and what did you do to help? Right? And what, right? And so then we had this talk about, hey, we all have to help each other out. This life is hard. And oh, I really love how you were part of the community today. Do you see how, Blake really needed you to stand up for him, and then you stood up for him, and then other people started, and how you saw that your teacher needed help, and so you stayed after in the classroom and you helped. That's real community. That's being a member of your community. And that kind of seizing teaching moments is what we mean when we say instill values. When we are instilling our values, we are talking about them in our favorite places, the dinner table. Some parents talk about them in the car on the way to basketball, like that, whatever opportunity you have, we are saying like, talk about them. If the parents are afraid that they're going to sound preachy, get over it. You're a parent. Of course you're going to sound preachy. You're supposed to sound preachy. We're supposed to preach to our children. Get over it. It's okay. Let your children roll their eyes. Let them go tell their friends, God, my mom won't shut up about community. Because when they're adults and they are upstanding, beautiful members of a community, you get to have your I told you so moment.
Cool. Nice. I love it. What do you think is the most important trait, speaking of values, to instill in a child?
That's an impossible question, Irina.
Why?
The most important, did you say trait or value?
Trait.
Holy crap. What's the most important trait?
For you, looking back, like when you were little, what do you think would have been most important?
Yeah. Okay. So here's my answer today. And then call me tomorrow and maybe I'll change my answer. But today, here's my answer. Openness. Openness is the most important trait. Openness to new food, openness to travel, openness to different kinds of people, openness to a new language, openness to different religious beliefs. So I'm thinking of that. I think that's relevant in our current political climate, but I also think it's relevant with these. Have you noticed that our kids right now they're also sensitive? They're allergic to food, and they're allergic to people, and they're allergic to beds, and they're allergic to other outside experiences. And I say, can we stop with the allergies? And the way to encourage more openness to new ideas or new experiences is exposure. So go take your kids out in the world. And when they have an adverse reaction, don't yell at them, don't shout them, don't pull them out. Just ask about it. Be like, hey, what's going on with you right now? I don't know. This is kind of scary. And then just kind of sit, be like, yeah, it's cool though, right? It's kind of different. We haven't seen this before. What do you think? And make them kind of like sit in that pool for a while and let them kind of see like, actually, it's not scary. It's uncomfortable. And that's a big difference. But in this discomfort, we might find that we're open to trying, I don't know, Korean food. We're open to sitting in a synagogue instead of a church and listening to what they have to say. We're open to traveling to a country that speaks a different language. We're, that openness, I think, maybe it leads to some really cool curiosity in kids. Maybe it gets them interested in what they're learning at school and interested in other people. And maybe they study something really interesting and save our planet. Maybe, is that how that works? Let's hope so. Openness.
Cool. I haven't had any one of those before, and I spoke to maybe 250 people. So I love it. I think openness is important. It allows you to deal with life more easier because you're open to different solutions to a problem. You're open to different circumstances, and it's easier, I think, when you are open.
Yeah. And well, it certainly makes you a more likable person too. You'll have more friends.
Yeah. Social media is such a big part of kids' lives today. From your experience as a family therapist, what practical advice do you have for managing kids' screen time while maintaining connection and boundaries at home?
Yeah, that's huge. Most of your listeners will turn off this podcast when they hear my answer because I am very vehemently opposed to social media. I have always been opposed to social media. Back when it was introduced to us in the early 2000s, I was the one saying, this is terrible. This is going to kill us all. This is a terrible idea. It's a giant popularity contest. And when we were growing up, popularity contests were frowned upon. We didn't do those except for like beauty pageants and prom king, right? A terrible idea. So social media is a giant prom king contest. I am 100% convinced, you can't convince me otherwise. I am 100% convinced that social media exposure to kids when they're too young for it is actually causing anxiety and depression, eating disorders and trauma and all the things that are sort of spin-offs from the depression and anxiety. I think social media is a terrible idea for children. Jonathan Haidt is proposing, and I know he's kind of a controversial guy. He wrote The Anxious Generation. I don't agree with everything that he concludes, but what I really like is his practical suggestions. He is saying that we shouldn't have phones at school. Why is that so controversial? That's a great idea. Let's not have phones at school. They're incredibly distracting. Kids are going to find a way to sneak them into the math class and be sharing, I don't even know what they're doing, is sharing posts and TikTok dances and whatever when they're supposed to be learning. I think that's a great idea. The second thing he proposes is no social media before the age of 16. That's just so sensible to me. I'm imagining, I have an 8-year-old and a 9-year-old. I'm trying to imagine them on social media. They are strictly prohibited on social media. And they're, for all the millions of reasons that I'm sure your listeners are familiar with. But I'm trying to imagine them on social media and coming to me and telling me that they saw a video of a Palestinian being shot, and that they saw a picture of a starving child who looked like a skeleton, or they saw a kid setting a dog on fire, and Irina, we don't know how to parent that. I'm a parenting expert. I don't know how to parent that. So the best thing to do is to censor social media, not until they're 16. Even 16, we got to be, once they're on social media, we should be a part of that. There's another practical tip about not giving kids phones until, and I think different countries are doing this differently, like 10, 11, 12, something like that. But the first phone that they have does not have those apps. They're the old flip phones or these limited phones, these smartphones that are not so smart, right? Maybe, or can we call them dumb phones? Give them a dumb phone, right? That is, yes, maybe they can text their friend, but that's it. Just text and call your friend. There's no posting on Instagram. There's no posting on TikTok. The pushback that I get from my clients and my audiences when I say this is the value. So a lot of people will say, but that's where they find their community now. That's how they communicate now. Wouldn't I be restricting that from them? And I say, the benefit of social media will never outweigh the suicides that are a result of social media. So those benefits, those community building experiences, those connections, those stay in touch. If you watch the youngest generation, I forget, are we calling them Generation Alpha? My kids, the youngest generation, they're coming up right now. My parenting group is more restrictive with social media because we've learned our lesson. And guess what? They're connecting just fine. They're connecting beautifully. It's okay for them to go home from school and not be connected to their friends and not be able to know what their friends are doing after school. They're doing fine. In fact, what they're doing instead is becoming involved in extracurricular activities. So if my daughter wants to be connected to her friends after school, she better show up to soccer practice because that's where her friends are. So that's where she's going to go. And I have to offer as much reassurance as I can that limiting, censoring, prohibiting social media with your children before 16 is having no negative effect that we're able to measure. No measurable or observable negative effect. On the contrary, it is improving kids' mental health. Now, with some of your listeners, it's too late. We as a society, we learned this lesson too late. Probably some of your listeners are like, great, I wish I'd known that. My kid's already 14, whatever it is, already 11 and already on social media. It's time to start weaning off of social media. And the way we do that is open conversations with our kids. Open conversations about the perils of social media. Yes, you might actually be accused of being an alarmist. I'm accused of that all the time. Maybe I am an alarmist. I am ringing the alarm. This is a bad idea. Start having open conversations. On most phones, you can check settings to look at your screen time. Start being open with your kids about your own screen time and their own screen time. But gosh, look at these screens are eating up our ability to connect with each other, even as a family, to be able to just look at how often I'm looking at my own phone as a parent. What example I'm setting for my kids. And I think there should be a weaning process. Like, okay, guys, we spent 3 hours on our screens today. Tomorrow, let's try 2 hours and 45 minutes. I want to plug. There's a product called Brick that everyone should buy. And if you don't have it already, go buy it. It's a literal box. And you can stick it on the fridge. It's a magnet and you can program it to you touch your phone to it and your social media apps are turned off until you touch your phone to it again. Right? It's brilliant. It's the best idea. This is genius. I feel like this person should be crowned the queen of something. I don't know, but it's Brick, and that is helping curb our addiction to social media and screen time use, which is killing us, Irina. It's killing us.
Totally. Thank you.
You're welcome.
For parents who feel isolated, burned out, or unsure where to begin, what's one simple, actionable step they can take this week to start building their own village of support?
Yeah, that's a great question. One small step. If you are feeling tired and you are feeling burned out, that's a signal probably that you've got to prioritize self-care. That is probably going to come with a consequence. So the simplest step I can say is face the consequence of canceling something. And get yourself a nap, a walk, an exercise class, a night out with guys, whatever you need. That's a signal that you have not taken care of your own body, that you've not taken care of your own mind. So I would say prioritize self-care. Now, if you're a parent, like most of us, self-care is a joke, right? Like when would I ever do anything to care? I have no time or energy. That's the unfortunate consequence. When we don't make time or energy to take care of ourselves, to put our own oxygen mask on first, we actually become bad parents. We snap at our kids. We become irritable. We don't take them to the birthday party because we're just not in the mood, and we start to affect their lives. So the small actionable step I would say is find something you can cancel this week with the least amount of consequence, even if it's going to piss some people off, and do something to recenter. Go talk to a therapist. Go for a hike. Go to church. Go meditate. Go to yoga. Do something that centers yourself and find your core. Take a deep breath and start the next week. I have a feeling it's going to feel so good that your listeners are going to want to start doing that every week, that there's going to be a time that is mommy time, that is daddy time. This is leave me alone time. This is my time, because if I can't breathe, then you can't breathe, kiddo. Right?
That's right. Yes. Yeah. It's self-care is not selfish. It's actually important and beneficial because we cannot produce, I often say, if you have a lemon, it's not going to give you orange juice. It can only give you lemon juice.
That's right. That's right.
Is there any book that you can recommend on the subject that kind of inspired you or anything you want to share?
That's a great question. Well, the Anxious Generation book, that's Jonathan Haidt's book. There's some stuff in there that I don't love. You know, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I really like the practical ideas in there. That's called The Anxious Generation. I would recommend that for the social media topic that we discussed. There is a book that I'm in love with right now. It's, I don't know if you're familiar with Father Greg Boyle. He is the one behind Homeboy Industries in East LA. He's famous. He's a Catholic priest back in the 70s or 80s, I think. He was assigned to a church in East LA that was gang ridden. It was gang activity, tremendous violence all around. And over the decades, he has transformed gang members' lives. He has gotten them jobs and childcare. He's gotten them stable marriages. He's helped them turn their lives around. And the way he has done it is by preaching this idea that there is too much tribe and not enough village, that there's too much of these are my people and only my people and we're the good guys and you're the bad guys, and not enough, hang on, we're all in this together. We all need to help out. And he has a book out called Cherished Belonging. It's a beautiful book about this topic, this beautiful book about how we are all a village, that it's time to start tolerating each other's quirks and habits and viewpoints. And it's okay that they voted for that guy and you voted for that guy. It's okay. We all are in it together, and we can't keep breaking off into pieces. We've got to help each other and build villages, not tribes.
That's beautiful. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about. I love talking about Father Greg.
Is there anything I haven't asked that you would like to share?
My gosh, this has been so much fun. You gave me so many soapboxes to stand on and yell at people. Thank you. No, this has been lovely. I really love that there is this podcast, that there's this resource for single and solo parents, because I know I've said this 100 times. I'll say it 101, that what you guys are doing is unbelievably difficult, and you have the respect of everyone around you, particularly people like me who have a partner, that we already find this difficult. So when we look at you and we see that you're doing this alone, we are applauding.
Thank you. If people would like to learn more or connect with you, where would they go?
There's 2 places you can go. My foundation, I have an institute that does the family therapy, and it has all of our contact information, my Instagram, all of that. And that is, I know I just gave a talk on social media and I'm on Instagram. I'm actually not. I outsource it. This other guy does it for me. But anyway, that is my institute. So all one word, it's the Caldwell Family Institute.com. And Caldwell is C-A. Everybody likes it to say Caldwell. It's not Caldwell. It's Caldwell Family Institute.com. Or you can just go to my site. It's AngelaCaldwell.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll include everything in episode notes. It's been awesome to have you. Thank you for the work that you are doing and the message that you are spreading. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. It was fun to talk with you, Irina.
Yeah, all right.
If this conversation resonated with you, please share it with another parent who might need this reminder today, because no parent should feel like they have to do this alone. And if you found value in today's episode, subscribe to Single Parent Success Stories, leave a review, and help us continue bringing hope, tools, and powerful conversation to parents everywhere. Remember, you are not just raising children, you are shaping the next generation, and you don't have to do it alone.